Hi everyone, Kevin here. I hope you're doing well. I'm hard at work right now on some big projects, including the follow-up to Disney's animatronics, A Living History, which we released in December of last year. And I wanted to bring attention to another series that I do. This is a Patreon exclusive series called Defunctland After Dark. These videos are kind of rambly, unscripted content where I do loose video essays on topics I'm interested in. It's a way to give bonus content to people that support the Patreon and therefore support the main channel content. With this series, I recently released a 2-hour-long essay on my top 10 most hated commercials from 2024. And because this video is so long and it's so perfectly organized into a numbered list, I wanted to give you a free preview of the video and show you one of the commercials that I hated from this past year. I wanted to do this so if you were interested in joining the Patreon, you could get a preview of these videos. And also if you were curious if I'm wasting my time making Patreon exclusive content, hopefully this demystifies that. These videos are fun and I think there's some good bonus content, but it does not take time away from my big projects, and that'll be pretty evident when you watch it. So if you like this kind of content, please consider joining the Patreon and supporting our big projects on the main channel. And if you can't join the Patreon or you don't want to join the Patreon, that's totally fine, and I hope you just enjoy this video of me ranting about one of my top 10 most hated commercials of 2024. This one is number 5, the Chipotle documentary ads. So the premise of these advertisements is that people are working at Chipotle, and then this third party in quotation marks, narrator is like hovering over them and asking them questions about their job. And I guess we should just watch one of these to understand what it is. They're about 15 seconds long, and essentially all of them are like this.
You're really making all of this by hand.
Oh yeah. The avocados are hand mashed, the chips are hand tossed, and everything is made fresh.
You make it fresh every day.
Yes, every day. The Chipotle way is we make it fresh every day.
Sounds delicious.
Okay, so this is a very subtle, and on first glance, it's like, oh, what's wrong with that commercial? It's just them talking about how fresh the food is. What's weird about it is the existence of the third-party interviewer. This guy that's like, so you make this fresh every day. And then it's like a documentary where I'm like watching this person in an interview setting, and then their lower third's title comes up. And in this one, it's like, it says Sky, Chipotle, Jacksonville. I mean, of course, I don't know why they needed to put Chipotle down there. Maybe it was just, hey, let's get Chipotle on the screen one more time. But yeah, okay, we know she's from Chipotle. That's obviously where we are right now. And she's like, yeah, so like we make this fresh every day. But then the existence of the third-party narrator is doing something so psychologically evil and in-universe confusing that that's why it's so high up on my list. It's so bizarre and so genius, kind of, and frustrating to have, where you're using a documentary format. You are co-opting people's trust in documentary filmmaking and television documentaries, where the idea is somebody's being interviewed and there's an interviewer, and these two parties should be, although they rarely are in most modern media, opposing forces. Someone has information, someone wants information. Someone is telling a story, someone is remembering a story. And these things they're not necessarily angry at each other or being aggressive toward one another. And sometimes it's a very good mutual relationship where you talk about what you're doing beforehand. But the idea is that these people do not work for each other or both work for someone else. The concept is this person was there, or this person has knowledge, and the other person is the interviewer, and they are trying to put the pieces together. And these goals do not always align, and so sometimes you have to press and push, and this creates a trust in the viewer of like, the person that I'm listening to, the documentarian that is interviewing these people, is doing their due diligence, and I'm trusting them to get the right information, even when people's recollection is hazy, or when they're giving misinformation, or all these things, that somebody is editing this, and that person I trust. That's the basic premise of documentary filmmaking. And it's a premise that you should not ever abuse, but it's a premise that this is not what this is. Obviously, this is not a documentary. They're co-opting the language and vibe of a documentary to create and to elicit that amount of trust that you have in this medium to sell Chipotle. This could have been a commercial where this person is just talking and they're like, yep, we make it fresh at Chipotle every day, thumbs up. But there's something specific and there's something purposeful about having the existence of the interviewer. And this interviewer, the interviewer presses and asks for more information, but is the most like rollover interviewer in the world. Is that Andy Warhol? Is that some old journalist? I mean, do they have the Chipotle documentarian guy? Is he? Oh my gosh. Is it Errol Morris? No. I'm learning this in real time. This is Errol Morris, a famous documentarian that I respect. Like, Thin Blue Line is a fantastic documentary. He made The Fog of War. This is a very famous documentarian. So these ads are worse now. I found out while recording this that these ads are far worse. This is Errol Morris, famous documentarian, a bastion of truth and investigative documentary work, who is rolling over for Chipotle in terms of he's interviewing, quote, interviewing this worker. I'm legitimately shaken to my core by the idea that this is actually famous documentarian Errol Morris, that he's involved in this in whatever way. Is this what you did on Thin Blue Line, Errol? Is this the kind of work that got you the breakthrough of that documentary that got you access? I get it. Documentaries had no vessel to make income until very recently, and even then it's not very, for many people it's still very difficult. You got to make money somehow. Maybe this is going to pay for something that's going to be so important to this world, but it's so weird to be co-opting that trust and just asking, like,
You're really making all of this by hand.
you're really making all of this by hand. That's not a question.
You make it fresh every day.
You make it fresh every day. That's not a question. But even if it was, what kind of question is that? You make it fresh every day? And then she says yes. And then you would say, okay, well then how often does the produce come in and where does it come from? And who is in charge of opening the avocados? Do you do that? Who's in charge of pitting every avocado? Do you have a machine that does that, or do you do that by hand? Ask an additional question, and instead she says, yes, that's the Chipotle way. And then he says,
Sounds delicious.
sounds delicious. Sounds delicious. Just juxtapose that with one of his most famous documentary works, and maybe if I go back and he went on Thin Blue Line, he's just like, someone was like the police were just like, yeah, he did it, and then Errol Morris is like, sounds great, sounds right. Oh, this isn't even fun anymore. Now I'm just sad. Is this really Errol Morris? This guy's grilling chicken in this commercial. And so Carson, also from Chipotle, he's from Chipotle, Johnston, Rhode Island, is like, people seem to like the chicken here. And it's like, yeah, Carson, that's very astute. That's for sure. I think that's a good observation, sure. And then Errol says,
You're not pulling it out of a box, you're making food.
he says, you're not pulling it out of a box, you're making food. And it's not combative. This is pre-pandemic. This is not combative at all. There's not even a question. It's, you're doing something incredible and I'm highlighting it. Like, you're not pulling out of a box, you're making food. But did this not come in a box? Did this come loose leaf? Is there a bunch of loose leaf chicken thighs in some fridge on their way to Chipotle right now? It's just thrown in a pile in the back of a truck. It came in a box, Errol. I mean, you are a famous documentarian. I will say, if Chipotle asked me to do this, I would do this for a certain amount of money. I think I probably would say no on principle to the sports gambling, but if it was Chipotle, I would do like a quick Google search to make sure they weren't doing anything horrific. I might do it. I don't know if I could stand to do this. I would pitch something else, something where I'm less like culpable, or I don't have to talk. So you're pulling this. This isn't out of a box. And then Carson says,
So I like going on grill. I like being able to put pride in my food and pride in my work.
and it's like, I like putting this on the grill. I like having pride in my food. And it's like, that's great. But I've seen people grill at Chipotle, and it does not look like pride is going in there. It looks like pure panic, because when they're grilling chicken, they're out of chicken. And maybe it's just because I only go at dinner rush, but whenever I've seen somebody grilling, they're not just hovering over this and letting the sweat hit their tears of how happy they are. It's like, we're out of chicken and we got a line out the door. It's maybe there's pride in that, but it's so strange.
It reflects me as a person.
No, it doesn't, Carson, it cannot reflect you as a person. Like, you have to separate your art from yourself, because at the point that you are completely powerless to this organization. I understand wanting to take pride in your work, and I appreciate that you want to do that. But if you put any of yourself into this chicken making process, you will be destroyed when they inevitably cut corners someday, when they stop running this ad and they decide to go to frozen chicken, or they create, their own broiler where you just have to put it in, you're no longer grilling. I mean, you do not want to put any of your personhood into the process Chipotle uses to make chicken. There are a few things in your life that you have less power over than that. You have to make a line, a hard line, not a thin line between you and the process used to make chicken. I understand. I get it though, but it's ridiculous.
The food I make, if it's bad food, I'm a bad person.
No, it's not, Carson. No, it's not. I just realized the name of this advertisement is Good Food, Good Person. That's crazy. That's crazy. I take pride in my work. I understand how it is, but I'm not recommending it. I have a lot of power over my end of product. Carson, you don't have any power here. You are a good person. Poor Carson.
I got good food, so I'm a good person.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay.
You get to walk right in. You see me making your chicken. This is going to be in your bowl.
This is it.
This is it. This is it.
This is going to be in your bowl, and then Errol shouts to the rooftops, "This is it. This is it." Here's Chipotle. This is Sean, no freezers. This is also one of the more recent ones.
So how would you describe the chicken to someone who had never tasted it?
Okay, so Errol is now asking a real question for the first time, and it is a leading one, as in it tastes good, but still. How would you describe the chicken to somebody that's never tasted it?
Literally melt in your mouth tender. We don't have a freezer, you know? It's almost like a farmer's market. When you walk into the restaurant, you should hear the sizzle that you're hearing right now. Just sends all those waves up to your mouth.
You're making me hungry.
You're making me hungry. Like, imagine if you have like a combative, like a just complete liar. Like this chicken was like, I know the chickens. Like they were really happy, and it's completely ethical the way this has happened, and it's truly amazing what Chipotle does. And then Errol's just like, that's right. You like, because every commercial is like that. They're like, he's like, Errol is like, so you're really making this yummy. And then the person's like, that's how we do it at Chipotle. We make it yummy. And Errol's like, it sounds yummy. Is it yummy? And then it's just like, it's just so funny that like that's acclaimed investigative documentarian Errol Morris that's doing that. Fog of War, Errol Morris.
So is this stuff really fresh?
Yes.
Errol says, is this stuff really fresh? And so if his idea is like, if it's 50-50 in Errol's mind, one little response is not going to sway him, right? What does he say though?
Fresh is what you stand for.
Definitely.
Fresh is what you stand for. And Errol has been completely taken by Chipotle. He is 100% in. Okay, so here's what I mean. Like, I could have sworn like it's more explicitly like Errol Morris is interviewing these people. This one literally starts with
And rolling?
It is canonical that this is a documentary.
If you were to tell me what makes Chipotle food different.
Also, Errol says Chipotle weird. Like he says, I think it's Chipotle, but he says Chipotle. Listen to him.
Chipotle food different.
Chipotle. He doesn't even say the T. It's Chipotle, I thought. But he says, what makes Chipotle food? Is it Chipotle?
Chipotle food different.
Maybe it's Chipotle. So this is him like asking like, how is Chipotle better than Brand X? And they're just like, she's like, we have a high standard. And then he says,
Are you just bragging?
Yep.
I think what I've realized is that Errol is not here for these. I don't think he's here. I don't think he's present. I think this is all voiceover, which maybe is obvious in retrospect, but I think I'm just now realizing he's not even there. I don't know, but this one with Krista, maybe he is there. Maybe he's there. It sounds like he's there here.
Guacamole came in a bag, in a freezer, and who knows what was in it.
You know what's in all of this food.
Yes. I'm gonna add onions and cilantro, jalapenos, get all those ingredients in there.
It is fresh.
It is fresh. Errol, do your job. Ask a hard question. Will you just please put Krista's feet to the fire for once? Here's another.
What's involved in making guacamole?
Of course, it starts with avocados. Like, one, look at these avocados. How can you say no to this? We smash them. The onions, the cilantro, the jalapenos.
And you make it fresh every day?
That's the same. That's weird. That's the same exact line and the same cadence from the other commercials. So that's strange.
You make it fresh every day. You make it fresh every day. You make it fresh every day.
You make it fresh every day. That's a totally different person responding to that though. And then everyone in the comments is talking about how it's not fresh, which makes me think that Errol didn't do his due diligence as a investigative journalist here. There's so many of these.
That sizzle, that's the soundtrack of Chipotle.
the soundtrack of Chipotle?
Oh yeah.
Anyways, I just think these in general are just really frustrating as somebody that is initially I was gonna go into this and be like, I'm a documentarian and I do my due diligence, and so it's weird to like create a fake documentarian that's like clearly shilling for Chipotle and helping assist in certain mistruths about how, you know, fresh some of these ingredients are. But then it's freaking Errol Morris. Like, I cannot possibly sit here at the end of this rant and be like, yeah, but like I would never do. It's Errol Morris. I mean, I thought he is a very well respected documentarian. So he's a real guy. I think he's well respected. I could have sworn. I mean, he placed 5th in a poll of the greatest documentaries ever made for Thin Blue Line, according to Wikipedia. I mean, so I no longer have a conclusion. I suppose. I'm just kind of sad now. I guess. Okay. Get your money, Errol, and I hope you enjoy that Chipotle. You seem to be very hungry.
You're making me hungry.